It goes back to the old-timey westerns,
right?
Where they would spin the guns. That's not practical.
Right. I can tell you the number of times I've thrown a plastic toy handgun across a room trying to do that, or smacked one of my friends at their house. And, oh gosh, are you okay?
Not to mention the, shades indoors and the leather jacket and the boots.
Oh
yeah. Get the hair gel, all of it, man.
Exactly.
So
now,
extreme.
Okay, what is happening here?
Where are we?
Glix, give us a situation report.
Currently, we are on the planet Geekery. Be warned, our impossibility drive may cause distortions as we traverse this land. Impending impossibility engaging in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, devoted geeks, and welcome to episode 51 of Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, the YouTube show from a couple of devoted geeks that are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. I am Dallas, and with me is
Celeste.
Because you guys missed that.
Yes, apparently. It's a thing.
Right?
As you listen to this podcast, please interact with us. Send us your thoughts on what we are saying via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can find us by simply looking up Geek Devotions. Do us a favor and leave a review on Apple Podcast comments, and perhaps you can be our devoted geek of the month.
All right, Glix, we have been traveling for quite a while here on the planet Geekery. What has the improbability drive brought us today? Because things are looking a little strange up ahead, aren't they, Celeste?
Yes, very, very odd, Glix. What's going on?
We have reached the point of dystopian convergence. Disturbance will become more than a two-man team in an artificial intelligence can handle. Activating Patreon Warp.
Oh gosh, where am I?
Oh yeah, where are we?
Whoa.
We're friends.
Wait. Hey, you guys.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the planet Geekery.
Geekery? Where are you guys? I'm in the dystopian universe where I don't know you.
Agreed. I have no idea what's going on.
All right. Well, we are on Talk, and we're traveling, and we have reached the point of dystopian convergence here. And so our AI Glix has brought on some amazing devoted Patreon geeks to help us out to travel through this area. So let's how about you guys introduce yourselves real quick? We'll start with the handsome man who looks like Batman, Terry McGinnis.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is an honor to be here, guys. Official name's Cody McGurk. I am a senior in college and major communication. Love everything about it. Love you guys on the channel. Also have my side little channel, Luphonics, as well. And it's just an honor to be here, man. Love you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part. And I love it all the geeky stuff. I'm so glad, and it's such an honor to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, Cody. And for you, the handsome gentleman with the professional setup that we dream about.
I think he means me. I'm Francisco Ruiz. Still don't know what I'm doing here. No, but I do a podcast called the Retro Rewind Podcast with my good friend Paul, where we talk about movies and some video games from 15 or more years ago, talk about what we like, dislike, and whether they're worth your time still today.
Awesome. Very cool. And hey, guys, we're going to have links to all the things that they just said in the descriptions of this on our YouTube channel, on our, the YouTube version of this, when it goes up, it will be there, but also the website, geekdevotions.com. So that being said, let me just real quick, just for fun, guys, if we had to get rid of all of the geeky things in the world, except for one, there's one geeky thing that you want us to hold on to, what would be the one thing that you would be holding on to?
Pop question.
Ooh.
Like a physical or like just literal sense? Like a literal physical thing to hold on to, or like in your head? Like
a fandom.
Like your favorite fandom, yeah.
Okay.
What's your one fandom?
Mine, hands down, Legend of Zelda.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Francisco knows a lot about that one.
Oh yeah, that's I'm about that life, man. I'm about that life.
For me, probably Lord of the Rings. I mean, I was actually losing some interest in it, but then we recently rewatched the trilogy for the podcast, and man, it's still, I was surprised at how much it gets me. So I'm going to go with that for now.
Come on, that's cool. That's cool. All right, guys. Well, this is Dystopian Devotion Month, and we've been doing dystopian movies all month long. And the first week, Celeste, you did what?
So it was on Divergent.
Yeah, and then I did one on Metropolis, which kind of hit a couple of areas. You got your silent film nuts and your anime nuts who enjoyed that one.
Oh, yeah.
And then this past week, you did one on
Equilibrium.
Yeah, and talking about love. And so
which has gotten a lot more response than I thought it would.
yeah, like really quickly. Like it doesn't have a lot, like as recording this, it doesn't have a lot of views at the moment, but it took a big jump quicker than it normally does. Like it really caught on. So I'll be interested to see how it does once it hits the website.
Yeah.
So, but for those of you guys listening, next Friday's devotion will be based off of V for Vendetta.
Woo!
Remember the 5th of November.
Oh yes. Oh
We
yes.
had, it was too close to the 5th of November for us not to do it.
Exactly. So we're going to go ahead and do that one. So we're excited about it. But today, what we're going to do is we're going to break this conversation up to a couple of sections. First off, we're going to say, what is our favorite dystopian movies? We're going to talk about why they're our favorite. And then we're going to have a commercial break, come back. And we're going to have a kind of a spiritual speculation about from what we can learn from these things. So that being said, since we have some people traveling with us, I thought we'll start with one of you guys. Francisco, what is your favorite dystopian movie or series?
Well, I think it can change. Like it's usually the last one I've experienced tends to be my favorite.
Right.
Well, that's kind of a cop-out answer, but I will say, at present, currently, my favorite movie in the dystopian sort of milieu is Dredd, which is a 2012 movie with the character Judge Dredd from 2000 AD Comics, which I believe is a United Kingdom comics, or that's where those comics come from.
Right.
But I think there's sort of this convergence of, I really appreciate the acting. I really appreciate so something about me is my dad was in law enforcement. My mom was in the military. So I very much sort of gravitate toward characters that have sort of a discipline and militarism about them. And Dredd in this movie, or Judge Dredd in Dredd, not to be confused with the Sylvester Stallone Judge Dredd, which is fine, and also dystopian. But I feel like Dredd is just the grittiness of it, and also it seems like this is how cops would have to be in some distant future, where everyone who's still alive is inside this pretty much the eastern seaboard is contained within a wall, and everywhere outside of that is just nuclear waste. And so I love how it seems hopeless, but even in this hopelessness, where they say in the movie that they can only respond to like 2% of all the crimes that happen, because there's just so much. But even in that, they are still trying to make a difference. They're not like, well, heck with this, I'm not going to make a difference. They're still trying. And I mean, some of the cops are, some are on the take. And I feel like it's just a really good, I don't see us ever getting to that point. I pray we never get to that point. But I think that it's definitely a good example of a dystopian society where there still can be people that are trying to do the right thing.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm with you, man. I kind of enjoy that particular series too, or the movie Dredd. And I keep hearing rumors about a sequel to that one.
Oh, I recently watched a YouTube video because I just rewatched Dredd a few days ago. I'm like, man, I like this movie so much. but there was a YouTube video that sort of did a breakdown that it's fine. It would be financially 99% unlikely that they would ever do a sequel.
Oh man.
So yeah.
I'm with you. I'm with you guys though. Like that movie really surprised me. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy the actor though. Like I've not seen a movie. No, I've not seen a lot of his movies, but I've not seen a movie with him in it that I didn't like.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but I know it's the same guy like in the new Star Trek movies
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like he is really good. He
He's the
was also in
McLaughlin boy.
right. Thor Ragnarok as well. He was in it. So yeah, I mean, but I agree. I didn't even know that was him in Dredd, but it was really really good. Like all the acting, all the cool epic scenery itself.
Oh, yeah.
Really did love it. Really good choice.
Yeah, visually that movie was stunning. Like I kind of wish I had the opportunity to have seen it in theaters.
Yeah.
In 3D, like because I was because I remember when that movie came out, they were really pushing the 3D aspect of everything, and I remember a few scenes that it was really really trippy. Now, I mean, just for folks who are listening, the films that we're going to be sharing may or may not be family friendly.
Dredd is totally family friendly. Take the babies.
It's like cuddly babies here, you know.
Depends on what family you're from.
And I'm pointing that out because dystopian movies, they have a wide range of different things.
Yes,
and we have families who listen to this podcast and everything. But
so don't go. Moral of the story: don't go take your little ones to Judge Dredd.
Yeah, well, not just that, but I want to encourage all parents. I feel like as someone that's worked in the media world for forever, like I worked for Hollywood Video back in 2002, and I worked there for 5 years, and I saw all kinds of people come in, and now this is my soapbox. It drives me nuts. They would just get whatever they wanted. Like kids, like I wanted this movie, and they're like, okay, just be quiet, take it, get out of my way. And I'm like, your child doesn't need to watch that,
right?
You know, I remember I worked for Hastings also, and I had this kid comes running around the corner holding the doll from what's it called, Saw?
Chucky? Oh, Jigsaw.
Yeah, Jigsaw. And she's like, look, Daddy, it's Jigsaw. And she was so excited about it. And then she goes, the new movie came out, Dad. Can we watch this? And like, she's 6 years old. I'm like, what are you doing? So that being said, I want to encourage everybody to have a level of intelligence in what you choose. I enjoyed that movie. I know that movie's not for everybody, and some people may have
or Dredd.
Dredd.
Thank you for clarifying.
Different topic there.
I can't do so personally, guys.
Oh yeah, me neither. No,
I know. I have some great friends that do. Our friend Josh Berkey did a episode of Geek Devotions from Saul, and I just can't. Me personally, I can't handle watching that kind of film.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that's something we can bring up in our spiritual speculation later about what we watch, can't watch. But just wanted to put that quick disclaimer out there for folks. Just use intelligence.
And
I want
to
add to that something that we use is, and I use it for me mainly to know if there's going to be nudity in a movie.
Right.
But if you go to Common Sense Media, I think it's commonsensemedia.com, they give a really good breakdown of all the different factors that you would want to be aware of, mainly for your kids in most movies. Yeah. So that's a really good resource I use.
It looks like it's commonsensemedia.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there will be links in the comments or in the description below for people to check that out. This is a cool website, Francisco.
Yeah. They are usually pretty good about spoilers, unless you're reading people's reviews. Then I guess it may be spoiler. I usually just look at their rate and bars for sexuality, violence, language, drug use, all that, and
cool.
Sort of see what's in it. So it's very helpful.
Francisco gets hero of the day.
Yeah, no, thank you. Appreciate that.
This site is getting favored.
All right. Okay, well, let's keep this dystopian train moving as we traverse this land. Mr. McGurk, Luphonics, Terry McGinnis over here. What's your favorite dystopian movie, my man, and why?
Man, it was so hard to narrow down for this list, but I go back and forth, but I think I'll have to go with the one that really started it all for me, and that's Terminator.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Love it all. Arnold, machines, all the epic action. It's great. And it really started it all. I really think that was my first taste of anything dystopian in ruin or just chaos everywhere, type of thing.
Right.
And I don't know. The older I get, the more I appreciate it, and not just talking about just the first movie, but really the whole franchise, even the newer movies to an extent. I really enjoy Salvation. I don't even want to get into that, but I think I think all of them, though, for the most part, have something good to come out of them. But they, I don't know, and not even going necessarily all philosophical in the the singularity of technology and robots trying to kill us and all that stuff, but it's really just seeing that, like, how far can we as a society maybe like progress before things get crazy, or where is that line in the sand drawn, to where we try to advance and better ourselves and stuff, and then just seeing, in a fictional way at least, of it all going bad, and just seeing chaos everywhere, and just seeing all the epic lasers and shooting, and I don't know, all of it's great, and it just holds a special place in my heart.
I'm curious, Cody, were you a fan of the Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles when that TV show was on air?
Full disclosure, I actually have not seen that. I've seen all the movies, and I've seen a lot of the tie-in stuff, because there's actually exclusive video games as well outside of the movies. But I actually have not seen that show, and I it's on my radar. I assume, since you asked, have you seen it personally? Or?
I saw like the first few episodes, and I liked them. I just schedually I couldn't fit it in to go back and to watch the rest, and I never went back and watched them. I heard it's a good series, and it's interesting that the lead in that, who plays Sarah Connor, I think Lena Headey, is the main person who plays the bad guy in Dredd. So
right. That's
a
good parallel there. Yeah, it is on my radar though, and I'm definitely interested one day for sure.
And plus, it has River from Serenity and Firefly. So.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah.
She's the what was like the T something thousand. I don't remember.
I don't know, but she is one of the Terminator. Yes.
Yeah.
We have to watch this now.
Agreed.
No.
Oh, I thought you had. I'm sorry.
No, that came out during the time of.
The dark time when Celeste couldn't see anything.
It came on against a show that my mom really liked.
Oh yeah.
And so,
Wheel of Fortune.
Right.
Actually, I think it was Grey's Anatomy, but
okay.
I love that sense of urgency that the Terminator series provides, and it's really good in Dredd too, with them, being locked up and trapped in the big place in the apartments there. I love movies that get that down right, to where you're just tense, like you're tense, man.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
and the Terminators, literally, it's like literally almost all the movies is one big chase scene. So it's like I love that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? For you saying that, Cody, makes me think that Terminator is like it's contained about just chasing one person or a handful of people, depending on the movie. But it's almost like that tension is felt for all of humanity, because the stakes are on these people. If they die, then all of humanity is toast. So it's almost like, because I was thinking in my head, why is it so tense? Because it's just these group of people. So if they die, it matters.
Like all of humanity hinges on this one person.
Exactly.
Yeah, literally.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. That's a great choice. Cody, I think that's like one of the ones that did it for me too on the front end. I remember being a kid watching Terminator 2 with my mom and my family, going, this is so cool. Like, I wanted a motorcycle so badly after that movie.
Right.
I always wanted to do the flipping shotgun thing.
Yes,
where he cocks it with flipping it. Coolest, awesomest thing.
What is it about these movies bringing out like these really cool, very unpractical gun scenes? Like, you had the flipping around with the shotgun. RoboCop brought in the flipping around with the handgun. I mean, all these movies bring out these really cool, very impractical things.
Because it looks cool to take a weapon, spin it, and shoot it. It goes back to the old timey westerns,
right?
Where they would spin the guns.
Right.
That's not practical.
Right. I tell you the number of times I've thrown a plastic toy handgun across a room, trying to do that, or smacked one of my friends at their house. And, oh gosh, are you okay?
Not to mention the shades indoors and the leather jacket and the boots.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Get the hair gel, all of it, man.
Exactly.
So
Now-
much
Extreme.
Both of you guys have brought up franchises that have had video games. Dredd didn't have one, but Judge Dredd had. And Cody, yours has had a plethora of video games.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys played any of those?
Go ahead.
Cody.
Oh, okay. No. Sorry.
Everyone's very cordial on this trip across dystopian societies.
Yeah, right. Thankfully, I've had the privilege to play a few. Most of them are honestly pretty bad, pretty garbage. I would not recommend. But there are a few are actually arcade Terminator games that are really good. And I would actually say there was a tie-in with Terminator 3 that came out like on the Xbox, the PS2 back in the days and stuff like that, and it was like a prequel to the actual movie itself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Or it was something along those lines, but it was like a prequel to the movie, and so you could play it and not have the movie spoiled at all, and it was still a really good time. And I would definitely recommend that, and then definitely obviously the home arcade stuff like that. I really did enjoy that.
Yeah, I played a couple of the arcade Terminator games. And I like those. I do have a Game Boy cart of Terminator 2, which I'd recommend to no one. It's not. It's ridiculously hard and overly so, and it only the first few levels are in John in the future trying to get to the T-800 to send him back. I've never gone past that, so I've never gone to play the fun stuff in the movie.
Wow.
So I don't recommend it. But
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and I've never played the Judge Dredd game. But I think it's cool that Dredd feels like a video game where you start at level 1 and you're trying to get to the top where the final boss is. I love that aspect of the movie.
Yeah,
it would be.
No, that's for sure. I would just say with the video games tie-in, even though they might not be that great and stuff, I do respect when they do at least try to branch out and do new and unique things on their own, and not just do a carbon copy of the movie.
Yeah.
So I mean, at least in that aspect, I can give bonus points. Even it's like, well, it's not that great, but at least it's something different,
So we realize you reskinned somebody else's game for this, but yeah,
absolutely.
Super Mario Brothers 2, looking at you.
Yeah, right.
I actually, when I was a kid, I had Terminator 2 on NES. And it was, I was curious about the Game Boy, but the first level is you're Arnold and it's the bar fight scene basically, and you're walking through and you were like super small. And the first boss takes up literally your entire screen. And I never got past that fight.
Oh gosh.
Ever. Like it was the hardest thing ever. I'm like, I can't beat this. And then I also have currently right now the Sega Genesis Terminator 2 game, and it is basically the arcade game mapped for the Sega Genesis, and it's pretty fun. The only way I could beat that though was if my sister played with me. You had to have 2 players shooting at everything coming up. But it was fun. And then I also played on Sega Genesis Judge Dredd. And Francisco, you're not missing anything. Okay. Even if this had came out on the Dreamcast, you would not have
my Dreamcast. That'd be Dreamcast.
Like it is a trash game, dude.
Okay.
So, all right, cool beans. All right, Celeste,
what
is your favorite dystopian movie, book series, whatever?
I have a universe.
You have a universe
that is my favorite. Firefly's universe is my favorite.
Yes,
my favorite. And the sad thing is that I was introduced with the movie and didn't know what it was. Didn't realize there was a series to be introduced to. And then in college, got introduced to the series and watched it in the correct order.
Awesome. Good.
And then, because I had people who cared about me,
right,
and told me what order to watch it in, and then went, "Oh, so this movie is about that?" And they're like, "Yes, watch it now." So much better watching it after the series.
It makes so much more sense.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved it because I love the shooty space sci-fi thing.
Sure.
But didn't understand
who these people were.
Yeah, didn't have the emotional connection.
Right.
Exactly. I have a story. I remember, like Big Firefly. I watched Firefly when it came out originally on Fox, so I didn't see it right in the right order or anything. And I would miss, like, I missed a couple episodes here and there because they kept changing the schedule. But as a big fan, when it came out to DVD, I got the DVDs. I still have those. I really love Firefly. And when by the time the movie came out, me and my now wife Christy were dating, and we went to go see like an opening weekend.
Oh, wow.
And there's a decent sized line. I was hoping it was a longer line, but it's decent sized. We go in, and then when the Universal logo comes up, someone shout, "Thank you, Universal," because we were all so thankful that we get to see a movie that continued the series that we had lost. So
Right.
So, like, I'm one of those people that I'm a big proponent of, because I think Disney has Firefly now.
Oh, I guess. Well, no.
I think it was.
Well,
I think it was
because
part
of
of the
Fox.
buyout.
Oh, okay.
I know they
It's
own a lot of
Fox.
people's souls too, so that's possible.
Well, you know.
Speaking truth here, man.
But I'm a big proponent of them making another series, like not about that group of people, but there's so much in that world that Joss Whedon created that they could explore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to know how we got to the point of having the men with the hands of blue.
Totally.
And why they come 2 by 2. Like, I want to know, like, everyone understands what it was a thing.
Yeah, no,
Hey,
I know.
we're laughing because it's like, well, yeah, that is a
It's
thing.
a thing. Sorry, you were laughing at me. So,
We're laughing with you, Celeste. With you.
but I mean, there's just so much. Like, give me Shepherd Book's story.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Younger, because there's so much unexplored there. Like, why the heck he was able to pull over I almost said Starfleet. I haven't watched it in a while.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is
one of
the?
those
Yeah, the big
ships.
city. Yeah.
We have to watch Firefly when we're done with
Apparently,
this.
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you
All 50
there?
episodes.
I've heard that there is a comic book or a graphic
Yes.
novel that goes into Shepard's story,
Yes.
but I haven't read that one.
There are several comic books, and they all go into different aspects, and I think that they could play off of those.
And I think they're all canon.
Yeah, they're all considered canon. Well, everything to do with Firefly is considered canon because there's not much of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're like, everything is official. At least if it has Joss Whedon's name on it.
That's
Yes.
it.
I
Indeed.
would be down for a new series, like you said. I'm
Yeah.
sadly probably the only one in this chat who hasn't seen it, and
Oh,
honestly,
no.
Oh man.
yeah. I've heard great things, but I honestly, to a degree, though, I don't want to see it because I know, like, it's,
You don't want to experience the heartbreak.
it's done. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
it won't be concluded, so why waste my time? You know?
Well, they conclude. They do conclude.
The
That's the thing is
movie-
the Serenity concludes it.
The movie kind of concludes.
Oh,
you have this
okay,
huge gap.
okay. I was
Like,
gonna ask, like, if the movie did actually give
Yeah.
closure to some things. That's
yeah,
good.
it does.
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that then.
Mhm.
Yeah, but at the same time, there's so much that was left open. Like
Mhm.
from the last episode of the season. Again, there's only 15 episodes to the season.
13
Oh.
episodes.
13, thank you. And to the movie, like there's so many questions and so many things that take place, and that's the big problem for people. Are like, okay, why are we here? Like, how did we get to this place? And they explain a lot of it, but nothing really gets resolved with certain other aspects.
And I think, even not to spoil anything for Cody, but the way things ended with the movie, I think that they could even riff off of that, because there's some explanations that happen in the movie
Right.
that you could go further in depth with, figure out how things got to this point, what happened. I mean, they explain it in the movie, but actually seeing it would be so much different than watching these characters find out what happened.
I like that. It could maybe do an approach with like the new Star Trek movies to where
Yeah.
where they don't abandon like the original canon, but it's like a alternate universe kind of
They
type
could
of
do-
thing. Like, I really dug that.
Yeah.
The only
And-
problem with that, oh, sorry.
I just want to make a correction. It is 14 episodes.
Oh,
So
well,
if you split the pilot into 2 episodes, then it's 15. Then you're kind of right, Dallas.
right.
But I wanted to correct myself because
There you go. I think this is on which box that you buy. And I remember because there were several boxes they put out of it.
Yeah.
And one of them actually had it in. That's a pretty box. That you
Yeah,
have
it
there,
looks
buddy.
like the OG right there, man.
That's it. Look at that.
Ah,
Dang,
nice.
son.
ours
See,
is brown,
mine comes in a singular case.
Yeah.
It's not as nice and shiny as yours.
but it looks more like the brown coats.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But
Yeah.
I like that set though. I like that. It's that slimline DVD cases.
That
Yeah.
I bet that's the set that they released
Oh,
when
yeah.
they released the movie, because that's what the movie case looks like.
But when
For those just
they-
listening, I'm showing my DVD set of
There you
Firefly. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you. So, but yeah, there were a couple of releases of it. One put it in the order that it aired on TV, which was out of order, and then
Yes.
another one was the proper order. And I think even Netflix for a while had it out of order.
They
which
did.
So weird.
They do weird stuff. Like we sat down to watch Farscape, and
Oh my God.
and we started watching. I can't remember if we started watching on Netflix first.
Yes.
And then I got I had the DVD box set, and one day we were at my mom's house, and internet was being done. I was like, "Well, I have the box set. Let's just watch the next one." And so we were trying to do math. Like, we watched about 8 episodes. Put in the next one, and we were so confused because Netflix had it out of order.
I don't like
Lame.
that.
Yeah.
Just do it right. Do it right. From the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, so for me, my dystopian stuff, it was hard for me to pick one because there's a lot. I mean, I'm kind of like Francisco. I'm like, the most recent thing is the thing I love, and so
Amen. It's hard to pick one.
it is. But for me, I go back to several, and there's several that I could have got mentioned. I'm going to point out this one, and that is the Appleseed series. Put up for those who are listening. I'm holding up the box. I have several of them actually. I have the original one from 19. I don't see a date on this.
Let me hold it because the light's shining on
Yeah.
it. I can't see the cover.
It's like 94. And so the Appleseed series is a dystopian series in the fact that it's like you had this great utopian society and life is really, you got it, man.
Yeah, I have that
new
one. I have that one, yeah. That's
Yeah.
from like
The
04,
Steelbook.
I believe, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Steelbook.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, this is the one from 94.
Sexy.
And then I have Ex Machina also.
2000.
Yep, we got that one as well.
That's the re-release was in 2000. And then I have that's the one that you have right there, Francisco.
Yes, yes, exactly.
It's not a steel case like yours is.
And now he's jealous.
I am kind of jealous.
I got this on a whim. I thought, it's by the Ghost in the Shell people. Okay, I like Ghost in the Shell, all right.
Right.
And I didn't really know what steelbooks were at the time. I've since become a huge fan of steelbooks, but
Yeah.
I don't really get it though. I mean, it's a fine movie, but why do you like it so much, Thomas?
All right. So there's a lot of things to this movie that I enjoy. The original one, though, which is the one from 94.
Oh, okay.
First off, I love 90s animation. And I know that some people dislike it for some reason, but I think it's beautiful, the 90s
Yes.
anime.
They hate beautiful things.
So they're just sad and angry, and they sit around
Exactly.
scribbling on people's pictures, and but that's part of it. Is I love 90s animation to begin with. Now we'll put a disclaimer. I personally feel like you need to watch the original one in Japanese. It was during that awkward time period when they were dubbing anime that they didn't know how to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put in filler words that didn't belong in the script. And then it was just like, how does this fit in? And sometimes people eject up the storylines. So
gosh.
it is definitely one that you need to watch subtitled, the original one in 1994. But that being said, I just enjoy the kind of the concept of like you have this utopian society, and then you have these outsiders who are out in the middle of nowhere, and they're trying to, they want to be part of what's happening, but because they can't, they're like, forget it, we're going to buck the system and destroy everything. I enjoy watching that conflict take place. And so it's just always been fascinating to me. And you have these two cops, they're kind of stuck in the middle of like, they know the system is wrong, but they have to protect what they have so they can properly help those who are on the outside. And so that's kind of the conflict that I enjoy watching, is from the point of view of the two cops of going, look, it's not perfect. It's really not, but we have to work within the system, change the system to help those who have been hurt by the system.
That's interesting. I don't get that from this version of the movie, which is the 2004, like half like essentially it looks like animated, but it's all 3D animated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like one giant cutscene from a video game.
Yes, exactly.
I've only seen that one and the Ex Machina, but I did enjoy Ex Machina more out of those two. So
nice.
I need to see the original. I'm sorry, Dallas.
Yeah, me too.
No, and I was going to say, Ex Machina is better than the relaunch. I'm wondering if they did the relaunch just to get to Ex Machina, because it is a much better story. It's much more in depth. There's much more character development to it. The one that you were holding up, I felt like they rushed it, and I liked it because I appreciate people trying to take a new take on old franchises, but it wasn't as good as the other one. And to be fair, Appleseed feels like it should be longer, and I feel like there was a manga that goes into more story than in the original one from '94. But that's one of my things. And again, some of it's my love for anime, some of it's a lot of nostalgia because I watched it a long time ago as a kid. I remember I used to come to Shreveport every year to go to Shriners Hospital for checkups. And we didn't have cable where I lived. We lived out in the middle of nowhere. And so cable was not a thing for us. So, but my family members in Shreveport all had cable. And so Sci-Fi Channel used to do these Saturday morning anime movies.
Oh, okay.
And I got exposed to so much anime when I would come down here, and I loved it as a kid. And this was one of those early ones that I saw. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, the art was beautiful to me. The story was interesting to me. And as an adult, I learned to see kind of the deeper aspects of it and go, wow, there's some complexity to this that you have to unpack. It's really quite interesting. And so for me, some of it's nostalgia, some of it's the art, because again, I enjoy that style, but also that conflict is what I enjoy.
So, Das, when you said you had to go to the doctor sometimes, would you ever tell your mom, I don't want to go to the doctor? And she'll say, well, an Appleseed a day will keep the doctor away.
No.
Nope. She never said that one.
Oh, okay.
I don't think she even knew that I watched Appleseed. She doesn't. I mean, she hasn't watched anime, but I don't think she really processed what was what.
Okay.
So,
major question. Why is it called Appleseed?
I don't know why.
Oh, I bet you I know. I bet you I can. Well, I have no idea, but this is my guess. Because apples, the outside fruit is delicious, like the Utopia, but the seeds are actually poisonous. And so you may have this Utopia on the outside, but really the seeds of it are bad for you. Yeah,
there you go. We'll go with that.
I'll take it.
So, I feel like it was such a side story, but like I think there was something. There's a software in there. I think it was called Appleseed, and so.
But why is that called Appleseed? See Francisco's earlier theory.
There we go. All right, cool beans.
No, cool apple seeds.
Cool apple seeds.
Don't bring beans into this.
Nobody likes beans. Beans are bad. They're
not
beans.
The magical fruit.
All right, guys. All right, well, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be hearing from one of our other devoted Patreon geeks, and we're also going to be having kind of a spiritual speculation discussion on some of the stuff that we just talked about. So, see all of you guys on the backside of this break.
Hi, I'm Francisco from the Retro Rewind podcast, and as always, I'm joined by...
I'm Paul J. Powers, and they call me the Master Interrupter.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It doesn't matter, because you're listening to Com Talk.
Comms returning to normal stasis in 3, 2, 1.
All right, and we are back from our commercial break. Hope you guys enjoy that little tag announcement. I'm not sure what to call it. It's a bumper from our friends over at Retro Rewind podcast, and I really appreciate them. And speaking of Retro Rewind podcast, we have Francisco from Retro Rewind podcast and also Cody McGurk from Luphonics, and they're joining us as we traverse this realm of dystopian societies and this convergence. And in the first half of this podcast, we talked about our favorite our favorite dystopian movies. We talked about Dredd. We talked about
Terminator.
Thank you. Our brain stopped functioning.
Firefly. And
Appleseed.
Ooh.
All right. So, that said, one of our other amazing devoted Patreon geeks sent in an audio of his answer and this is what he had to say.
Hi guys, my favorite dystopian movie is Fahrenhite 451. I love this movie because it is a cautionary tale of how censorship can destroy society. And it's not just speaking of the censorship we normally think of. When you think of censorship, you think of government banning books, blocking movies, but that's not all it is. Censorship can also include self-censorship, where we ignore parts of things that have been told to us, shown to us, or in books to make ourselves feel better. Good example that spiritually can be found in the Bible with the verse of Matthew 4:9, a common verse used on the motivational calendars. It says that kneel down and worship me, and you shall have all that is before you, which sounds wonderful. It's in the Bible, sounds good. But if we ignore and censor out the verse before it, we miss the fact that it is the devil saying it. Thank you, guys.
All right, so that was kind of Jonathan's thoughts on Fahrenheit 451. What did you guys think about the spiritual speculation side of that, about the whole thing?
Yeah, I definitely agree that it's something that the Bible can be taken out of context, and like you can take just a verse and try to make a whole theology out of that, and you really need to have the full context to get it.
Right, absolutely. How about you, Cody?
No, definitely. You have to have the meat and potatoes, and especially with how our world is nowadays, like you definitely need to understand the context and the where everything is coming from at a certain point in time as well, and trying to especially censor that, and especially trying to remove certain aspects of the Bible. It's definitely a no-go, obviously, but
Yeah.
I really enjoyed just the pursuit of truth in general, and to keep the integrity of truth in what we do, especially with the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what are your thoughts on what Jonathan had to say?
I agree. It's a censorship is a bad thing, and we just recently watched the new Fahrenheit 451, and so it was kind of scary because you could kind of see how society could go that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and then we say that it could be like the prequel to another movie that I can't think of at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd speculated that Fahrenheit 451 was the prequel to. Oh man, what was that movie? Well, let's come back to that, guys. But there was another movie.
It was one we watched recently.
1984.
Yes.
I feel like that Fahrenheit 451 could be the prequel to 1984. So, Cody, are you familiar with that movie?
Not 1984, sadly.
Oh, okay.
I know it. I'm super young. Forgive me.
No, it's all good. It was required reading for me in high school, so I was wondering.
At least just the name 1984. I mean, maybe if you told me like, oh, it's about blah blah blah, I'd be like, oh yeah, that. Yeah. But just 1984.
It's a dystopian movie. I think it is done by George Orwell.
Yeah.
And in this particular movie, society has progressed to the point where everyone listens to Big Brother, and Big Brother puts out the information that you need to know, and the only information you need to know. In fact, there's groups and people who all their job is to sift through the newspaper and edit newspapers and edit old newspapers and cut out things that they consider to be wrong or inappropriate or counterproductive of the culture, and replace those headlines. And so it really felt like what Fahrenheit 451 was doing. It was the prequel to 1984.
Oh, okay, yes, I do get where you're coming at now. Yeah, because a lot of games I actually play and enjoy, like BioShock or We Happy Few, very heavily inspired by 1984, and so especially with the government censorship. Yeah,
absolutely.
I get you.
The crazy thing is that it was written before 1984.
Yeah,
and then the movie was released in 1984.
So
I'll have to actually watch that movie.
I think it was free on Vudu a couple of months ago. So
but be aware of there's a lot of nudity in it.
Yeah, there is.
That is an issue.
Through a few things. If you can borrow a DVD, you can skip a chapter. So, but it's one of those things.
Right.
All right. Well, Cody, let's talk about Terminator, man. What's your spiritual speculation from Terminator 2?
Ooh, man, it can range anywhere. People can pull something out of nothing. But I think for me, and yeah, you've got technology. The singularity with man rising up, with machine rising up against man and stuff. But honestly, yeah, that's cool to talk about, and that's cool to really be like, oh crap, what's gonna kill us one day and all that stuff. But really what I get out of all of that is like how we got there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look at the pursuit of technology and the pursuit of advancement in society. That's great and that's wonderful and I'm all for that. But to the degree that it gets in the Terminator, I look at it as in like it's like a show of like of human nature, of like boasting and of like pride in a sense, of like not only telling God that like, oh, we don't need you and in fact we're better because look at what we've done, but in a sense of like turning our backs on our fellow man. Because think about it, like how in the world did the world actually end up getting that way unless if like human society was like fighting and attacking each other too? You get what I'm saying? Like that would have not normally happened if everybody was working together. And a lot of what I take out of like how chaotic it gets in Terminator is the fact of like, man, look at how like prideful and look at how like big our egos can be with human nature in general. And I don't know, like I think that just correlates with me personally because before I became a Christian and before Christ came into my life, I was a very, very judgmental person and very much wanted things my way. And like literally, somebody could, I'd ask them to go get McDonald's and they'd go get McDonald's and they'd get the order exactly right. But then I'd get mad because they didn't get back fast enough.
Oh, wow.
You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it was that type of pettiness and stupid stuff. And when I correlate that with seeing like how chaotic and destructive just like human society can be at times, especially with the outcome in the Terminator, with literally the world ending, human society ending, it really just all comes back to like being so thankful that I have Christ as that cornerstone and balance in my life.
Word.
And that I have peace and happiness that can never be taken away from me, and that my ego is not a. I don't want to necessarily say not a thing. We all suffer and stumble, but my ego is checked in His. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know. Like it's just seeing that like Christ in His time was able to, not only say like, hey, don't kill people that wrong you, that the law says, but he says, no, hey, instead of killing them and instead of like not harming them, I want you to go so far as to say, hey, I want you to love your neighbor. Like that just completely changes the system on its head. And just to have that type of lesson and love in my life, I'm just eternally grateful.
Right. Absolutely, man.
Awesome.
Very cool. And that is a thing, man. It's something to be humbled by for us who are believers in Christ, to go, wow, the difference that He's made in my life and the destruction. Like I was kind of like, man, before Christ, I mean, I could be a jerk. I mean, I was,
Amen.
I was legitimately an angry kid as a teenager, and I had, by the world standards, I had every right to be angry and mean and all this other stuff. But when Christ came into my life, I was convicted about that. And I was like, I have to make a change in who I am and what I do and how I say. So that's great speculation. Anybody have anything to add to that conversation?
I think you said it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job, Cody.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
I
Much
do
love.
do want to add to this conversation that if you haven't seen Terminator, there's a great place to get a review on the first one, and it's retrorewindpodcast.com/89, and where they do a full conversation, let you know if it's worth watching. And so I want to encourage you guys to check that out.
Well, that sounds like an awesome show. I'll go do that right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also
watch both.
we mentioned 1984. If you go on YouTube, go to Retro Rewind Podcast's YouTube. I think it's youtube.com/Retro Rewind Pod.
Podcast. I haven't been able to change it to pod yet. Yeah.
Okay, podcast. They have a playlist called Summer Free Movie Club 2017, and we actually did a full length conversation, spiritual speculation on the movie 1984. So that's a thing. So cool beans. All right. So from Terminator and terminating that horrible lifestyle we had beforehand, where we're jerks and nasty folks, into the beauty of Christ. Let's move this conversation along to talk about something we may dread. Francisco, what you got, man?
Well, hell is definitely a thing to dread. And as we were recently recording a podcast on Judge Dredd, the Stallone version, but it sort of the whole universe of Dredd takes place, like we said, in dystopia, where just chaos is reigning, and the police, the judges, are just barely able to make a dent to like keep the balance somewhat, so it's not utter chaos. But something came up while we were talking about this universe was, I wonder if this is what hell could potentially be like, where it's just like chaos everywhere. Everyone's like just doesn't care about God, and God doesn't come into the picture. And maybe there are some people. I mean, I would tend to think that if there could be some really good atheist who does, works at homeless shelters and does all these amazing things, but they don't have Christ. So unfortunately, they're going to, at least my belief is that they're going to end up in hell. Right. But I mean, I don't know if there's different levels of hell, like the Dante's Inferno. But if there are, it seems like there would be like, okay, there's maybe some people in hell that are like trying to keep the rest of hell in check, maybe, but they can only do it from their limited faculties because they don't have God. So I'd be curious, what do you guys think? Do you think that dystopian societies are a reflection of what hell might be like, or maybe a time on Earth when before the rapture or after the rapture, all that?
I think that in some degree it will be. They are, depending on which one we're talking about, and Dredd specifically. I think it's a great reflection of what life could be like prior to the return of Christ, when we've gotten past everything. The world is completely was janked up. Those who are in Christ are solidified in Christ. People have had the opportunity to hear the gospel of Jesus and turn to Him, and I think it's like here, let that trumpet blow, and we're all taken up in a twinkle of an eye, if you will.
Exactly.
And the sad thing is, you look at things like Dredd. Dredd really is it's almost an exaggeration of some things we're seeing now. I mean, there are cities and towns here in the States that are, they're war zones. I mean, they're just next level. People, Chicago, unfortunately, gets harped on quite a bit, but really is. I mean, it is. Like, guns are illegal in Chicago. Like, I don't think people realize that. It's illegal to have a gun in Chicago, but people are getting shot there all the time. You have these other cities that are just, they're war zones. They're falling apart. And it's because of lawlessness. And it's because of people not, just being a decent individual, but being in Christ. And I really feel like it is an absence of God. It really is. I've heard it described where hell is simply the absence of God as a whole.
Yeah.
And so,
I agree with that 100%.
Mm-hmm. So what were your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm enjoying the conversation, but I don't necessarily have anything to add to the conversation.
Right. Understandable. So it is one of those things where it's like either it is or it's not,
I'm curious, since Celeste, that sounds like Cody's a book guy also, but Celeste, since I know you're definitely into books, have you ever read C.S. Lewis's The Great Divorce?
I have not read that one because for some reason I haven't read a lot of C.S. Lewis's nonfiction works.
Oh, this is fiction.
It is.
The Great Divorce is fiction, yeah, and it's essentially a look at someone who is in purgatory because C.S. Lewis was a Catholic, so they
Right.
believe in purgatory. But it could also be a reflection of hell also. But somehow this person is taken up into heaven, and just the symbolism and the features of how to think about heaven from the perspective of here on earth is just really, it's really interesting how, and it's in the context of this is all a dream. I mean, I remember I got to the end of the end of the book. I'm like, wait, what? That? Oh, and then I look back. Oh, this was a dream. Oh, okay.
Got it.
But still, it's a really, I would highly recommend The Great Divorce, and I think it's sort of, it's not dystopian so much, but it is, a way to think about what it's like to be eternally separated from God and how people would be in that state.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. Cool beans. All right. Well, Celeste, what you have anything from Firefly you want to bring out spiritual speculation wise?
I think that with Firefly, you can look at it more from the perspective of how to be a at least semi-decent person within the constructs of the accepted government is not good. So, not that we're anti-government, but throw that out there.
Viva la revolution!
We're getting to that sketchy time.
November 5th is coming up.
Yeah, that's no. But we live in a world that is fallen. We live in a world that is sinful. Mm-hmm. So then how as Christians do we manage that? How do we navigate that? Being in a society that the norm is not what we agree with.
Right.
How do we handle that in a way that is Christ-like, at the same time not come off as judgmental?
Yeah.
So, because they were very judgmental of the authorities. Mm-hmm. But in that, you have characters like Simon and River who were a part of the society.
Yeah.
They were a part of what was accepted. And less grungy if you're a film nut. And they navigated it, but they were still the same people they were today. So kind of a look at ways to do that.
Yeah. That is an interesting balance of doing that, of being the society.
Yeah.
But being for Christ. I mean, it becomes a difficult terrain for us at times because sometimes society is just so ungodly.
Yeah. And
we've unfortunately seen that where you have people like the Westboro Baptist Church who have taken a principle that is from scriptures, but their presentation of the gospel, the way that they handle things, the way that they confront people is terribly ungodly and unchristlike, and they've probably done more damage to the kingdom of God than they have good.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say, Celeste, your question was, how do we live in a society as Christ followers without being judgmental? Is that kind of what you were saying?
Kind of, just without being judgmental, but also because there's a balance. You have to still be a Christ follower, but at the same time, you have the line of, this is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So well, I feel like, sorry to cut you off. I feel like Shepherd Book has the best example of this, that he's willing to live with quote unquote sinners, and he's still that salt though, and that light in that perspective. He's not like beating any of them over the head with it. He's always willing to answer questions. I remember this scene where he talks with Jane after someone dies. I think it's in one of the episodes that was never released on TV, when The Message, I think, when they take on this coffin of this person who used to fight with Mal and Zoe in the war. And he's like, Jane's like working out and like, I guess I want to feel alive. And Shepard's like, there's lots of reactions to death, and just being willing to have deeper conversations with people that just don't necessarily know Christ, but not just like, oh, you heathen, I'm not going to give you time of day because you don't know Jesus. Or I think that's where we can just be in this place, and also not be like, though Shepherd, he sort of can tip the balance when he's shooting out kneecaps of people, but I think that is a bit ambiguous because the Bible is ambiguous about the subject of kneecaps. So
Right.
For Cody, who has not seen it, there is a line where Shepherd Book comes out shooting at somebody that was attacking the party.
And Shepard's a preacher.
Yes, Shepherd is a preacher,
like an actual Christian preacher. It's
okay,
yeah.
sweet, gotcha.
Which I appreciate how well they handled his perspective, because to my knowledge, Josh Whedon is not a Christian. But at one point, he comes out and he's a really good aim, and he shoots the people in their kneecaps, and they're down, and everybody's safe. And the captain looks at him and goes, "I thought the Bible said something about not killing." And he goes, "Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about kneecaps."
No, that's good. That's good.
So just so you understand the
Yeah. No, I feel you.
And given that Firefly came out several years after Terminator 2, I gotta think that that's an homage to Terminator 2 when he says, "I said, don't shoot anyone. He'll live," and he shoots his knee.
Right. Yeah. But no, I feel that struggle though, Celeste. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of us do as Christians. I don't remember who said it, but it was I want to say it was Saint Francis, but it was like preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, that quote just sticks with me because it's like, look, if I have to tell somebody, if people can't see the love and grace in my life, and I have to tell somebody that I'm a Christian, I'm doing something wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I just feel like in my line of work, especially with dealing with the public, like every day, the best thing for me has just been like just to be loving like that, and stand your ground. Obviously, I have my guards and vices and all that, but it's it's just. I don't know. I just feel like if somebody knows you care, then it won't be perceived as judgmental, I guess. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. We all struggle with that. I'm right there with you.
Word. So it is one of those things that you have to balance out. I like with the quote you brought up about, preach the gospel all the time, so when necessary, use words. Mm-hmm. It's been my experience, though, that we have to be careful with that phrase, because sometimes people, they use it as an excuse not to present Christ, not to use their vocabulary. Going, look, man, I'm a Christ follower. But I think that you quantified it really good in the fact that if we have to say something in order for them to know, then we're doing something wrong. Like we don't need to be like, I'm a Christian and you're going to listen to me now as I present the gospel. I mean, it's like, okay, really? But like if there's we're living life with people and we go, Francisco's posing as a pious individual.
I was taking after Celeste, who was doing the thing.
He wasn't looking at me.
Oh, yeah. So, but, and as we communicate with people, we activate with them, there should be something different about us that draws people going, all right, what's different about you? What's going on here? And ask questions and do things. I remember working for Hollywood Video. We had several people come through who, they would say things and joke about things, and then be like, okay, what's the deal here, man? Why aren't you laughing at these jokes? Why aren't you being part of these things? I'm like, because I follow Christ, man, and that's against my faith. I remember one time
Jesus doesn't have a sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's untrue.
So there's this one time
kidding.
I was in the lunchroom, or we didn't have lunchroom. We had like a little office. I'm on my break. I'm eating my dinner. This dude comes in who's new, and I'm just sitting there doing my thing, man, working, and again, he's like right off, like he was super new. I think he only been there for a week, and he comes in, he starts telling me about how he was exhausted and tired. I was like, man, why are you so tired? He's like, well, I was up late last night. And I'm like, what were you doing? He's like, well, man, I was at the strip club last night, and you know how it is. He starts going to these graphic details. Like, yeah, no. He's like, oh, come on, man, you know. I was like, no, I really don't. He's like, I was like, here, let's try this again. Hi, my name's Dallas. I'm in college right now. I'm at Bipsy. My plan is to transfer to a Bible college, and I'm going to become a minister. And he just stopped, walked out of the room, and just sat down on the floor behind the desk by one of the other employees. And he's going, dude. And the other employee's like, what? He's like, why didn't you tell me, man? Why didn't you tell me? He's like, what? He goes, Dallas is a preacher, man, dude. I just told him all about me going to the strip club and stuff. Oh my gosh. And it's like, it's super new. We didn't, but like, there is that whole, like, we should, because we don't partake in things, we're not being jerks about it. I mean, I wasn't like, you sinner, you're going to hell and all this other stuff. I didn't preach like, sinners in the hands of an angry God. But all of a sudden he's like, okay, there's revelation. You're a different individual, So that does need to be a thing that takes place sometimes. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Didn't mean to try to get it construed or anything.
No, not at all.
No, you're good.
All right, cool beans. Well, keeping this dystopian train moving, talking about some great speculation. Just from my stuff about Appleseed and some of the stuff I see in it. It kind of goes back to, it's similar to what you talked about, Celeste, about us balancing our faith and what we can do and can't do within the realms of society. That really is part of the reason why I enjoyed Appleseed, was because you have these people who are part of the society. Their job is to protect the society, but society is legitimately wrong.
Yeah.
And there's some. I don't want to spoil the movie for folks who want to watch it, but there's some stuff that goes on that like that the society is doing bad things. There needs to be a change in the system. And so the question, social justice has always been a thing that's been around for years and years. And, how should Christians be involved in society? How should they not be involved in society? So you've had groups who they're so angry at society as Christians, and they go off and they start their own thing, and it gets weird, and all kinds of crazy stuff takes place. But I want to hear from you guys, what involvement should we as Christians have in a society that maybe we disagree with aspects that are happening and taking place? So, great example. We have this currently in the United States. We have people coming up from South America trying to enter into our into the United States illegally, and they're coming, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's people who are like, we need to have open borders. We need to let them in. There's people that are in need, and you got people like, no, shut the borders. It's illegal for them to come in here. That there's a process and everything. And I mean, this is a hot topic button, and people have really gotten angry and spat on both sides. And I kind of come from a unique perspective in that I've known several people who were illegal immigrants, and I've heard the horror stories of trying to get into this country legally. And I've heard stories about people who they were here illegally and then just randomly deported. And the problem is our immigration system is broken. Like, it is flat out, it's trash, and it needs to be reformed. I mean, it needs so much reform that Martin Luther's looking for another door to nail a letter to right now. But I mean, it's bad. And so for me, I was talking with somebody about this just the other day, actually. And, as an American citizen, it is my job to back our government. It's my job to not just blindly back it up, but to go, hey, look, these are the laws that we exist in. As an American citizen, these are the laws that we live by. And is it wrong? Yes. Beautiful thing about our country is we have the ability to change those laws in a reasonable, legal manner, and we have to put pressure on our politicians to do that. As a Christian, there are people who are in need of help. There are people who are in that group that are legitimately are fearful for their lives, and they need hope. And so how do I respond to that? Well, my comment to the guy is like, look, we can either we can volunteer our time. When they hit that border, I'm telling you, there is a plethora of organizations that are going to go down there to help those people out who need medical attention, they need substance, they need stuff. We can volunteer our time and go down there and do that. Or we can give funding to the organizations that are going to do that, that are appropriately going to do that. They're not just going to pocket it, but going to go down there and help those people. So as a Christian, I can do that. I feel like there's this conflict. People will have this mistake that we need to legally push Christian values and go across the board. We're all going to do this. That's the big push for socialism right now. It's like, well, that's the Christian thing to do, to share everything. No. The Christian thing is for me, out of my conviction of Christ, the Holy Spirit convicts me to go out of my way to help somebody, not for the government to say, hey, you have to help somebody. That's not Christian. Yeah. That's government mandated stuff. I don't know what you call that.
Totalitarianism.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that.
Good word.
So that's kind of my example of it. Like, for me, like, my heart really does break for some of these immigrants or these people they're not immigrants. They want to be immigrants. These people who are trying to come up and to find a better place, to find hope. And I feel bad for the people who have been literally kicked out of our country for no good reason whatsoever. They were here illegally. They were adding to their community. They were doing stuff that was going to be great. And the government's like, yeah, sorry, we don't like you anymore. Deuces. You know, I feel bad for them. But
Right.
there are legal things that we can do. We can put pressure on our politicians to change the laws, to have proper reform done. And so that's kind of my mindset. But is there, for you guys, you know, is there anything you see like within the construct of our, you know, society we live in? Maybe not necessarily a governmental thing, but maybe within your hometown, or maybe an organization you're part of, or anything else that you see that as a Christian needs to be changed, but you also have these Christian values.
Oh, there's so many.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. I'm having trouble coming up with any.
Well, is there an appropriate way for us to do certain things? Like, what are your opinions on the appropriate attitudes and structures for a Christian to respond to things in life when we see things that are wrong, but we're part of that society? Because there is one of the common themes to all these mini dystopian movies is like this: like, we're just going to revolt and we're going to take the land, and a lot of it's through illegal actions.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing V for Vendetta next week. The reality is there's a lot of things that happen in that are illegal.
Yeah.
And are not Christ-like for us to do. You know, Romans 13 says the government was put in place by Christ. Our leadership was put there by him. If you don't like the president as a Christian, that's fine for you not to like him, but Christ did put him there.
Yeah.
God did make that happen. So there's things we have to function in appropriately.
So something as you were talking, Dallas, that came to mind, that I think that Christians tend to want to organize to become essentially like yes, so that we can put political pressure, but sometimes I feel like that becomes our idol, that we just need to get a Christian in the presidency, or Christians in Congress, and all will be right. I feel like it really does start with our own home first off,
right,
and making sure that you are all you're believers as best you can. I mean, you can't control your kids, can't control your spouse, can't control the people you live with, but if you can't, do your best to reflect Christ in that and try to live in peace and for Christ in your home, and then also in your community, try to be compassionate. Like something that I really appreciate about my wife, because she's so much better about this than me. But our son is doing a fundraiser for his preschool to sell wreaths or something,
right.
And she says, my wife says, "Oh, let's try to get some poinsettias as Christmas gifts for our neighbors," and that would never occur to me, because I'm like, let's not spend money that we don't have to. But I love her heart in that, and we end up buying some for just a few of our neighbors here, because I think that's a demonstration of love and caring that you don't have to do, that isn't necessarily Christian, but I think that's a better place for your heart to be, is that you want to give to others, you want to be kind and live in peace with the people around you. And so starting there, making sure that's in order before you go out and try to change the larger government or community and country. I think that's where it needs to start, because if we're all doing that as Christians, then they're not going to take care of themselves necessarily, but they're going to be in a much better place to go right than to go wrong.
Word. I often hear people talk about, like, you know, they want revival and stuff like that, and they're praying for revival and they're praying for the change of the government. But the reality is, revival starts with the individual.
Yeah.
If we're not doing the things on our side to be Christ-like, to honor God, then why should I expect everyone else to do that?
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
I feel like it's kind of like that's what you're saying. We can't legalize Christianity. Christianity is legalized in our state country, but we can't government mandate Christian values.
Yeah.
That's why we left a whole freaking country to come to this land, because we were governmentalizing our Christian values. And so, it's a thing.
Yeah, no, that's good. Just want to add on to that. Yeah, it all does start at home. It really does. And it's great to have all these ideals and ideologies and wanting that perfect world. You know what I'm saying? Wanting all that love, happiness, and equality for everybody. I think the biggest thing that needs to be fixed, especially when addressing our communities and the Christian walk. Is I kind of like what y'all were touching on earlier. I think we need to be more practical about things, and
Mhm.
I don't mean like realistic. I just mean like, hey, you want to help all these immigrants, then hey, donate money. Like actually backing up what we say with our actions. That's what I mean. You know, hey, you want to help the lost and the hungry? Go to your local food kitchen. You know, go to your local shelter. I really feel like if we started being more practical with what we're passionate about, everything else would just fall into place. You know, Christ says, you know, he gives you this. You know, he'll trust you with this much, and then if you can do that, then the bigger doors will open. You know what I'm saying? But it does all start at home, and if all we ever do is just dream big and never act on that, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Totally.
Attention crew, we have passed the convergence zone. Mission accomplished.
All right. Good to hear. Thanks so much, Glix, for letting us know about that. And thank you guys for coming through the warp zone to help us out with this and have some really great conversation.
Who are you guys again?
What a journey. No.
Hey, man, it was quicker than getting to Mordor. All right, so.
True.
All right, so if people wanted to continue the conversations with you guys and they want to connect with you guys individually, where can they find you? We'll start with you, Francisco.
You can find me on Twitter as either at Retro Rewind Pod or at FXRUIZX. Those are probably the best places. And check out RetroRewindPodcast.com because it doesn't get plugged enough. Yeah,
All right, very cool, very cool. And how about you, Cody?
Both Lou Phonics on YouTube and Facebook. I'm on there all the time, and I will be doing new content soon. Just been enjoying and living life at the moment. Sorry.
Do it, man. Hey, you gotta take those breaks, bro. You gotta be healthy.
And you're a senior in college. You gotta.
Where?
All that crunch time, I'm telling you. But new stuff coming soon. But yeah, feel free to check out both of those, and I will get back soon with doing cool stuff.
Very cool. Hey, can you do me a favor? Spell Luphonics for the audience, real quick.
Luphonics, Luphonix. I suck at spelling, so exactly how it sounds. Luphonics.
Awesome, awesome. Hooked on phonics worked for me. Anyways. Very cool. Hey, guys, links will be in the description down below. And, hey, check it out. These guys have both been on our show on our several times, actually. They've done devotions for us. They've been part of our podcast before. So we're going to have links down below for you guys to check out their stuff. If you're watching the YouTube version of it, there'll be links in the card to check out their stuff. And also, just fair, we have a really cool playlist here on YouTube called Guest. I want to encourage you guys to go check out that particular place and listen to or check out those the different episodes that these different guys have been on and other really great guests we've had because we always appreciate them. But we appreciate these two specifically. They weren't here because they're past guests, but because they are our devoted Patreon geeks. And if you would like to maybe be part of our podcast one day, maybe do other stuff that we do, or maybe you just want to help support us, check out patreon.com/geek devotions. And you can support us for as little as $1 a month. That being said, we have set up a PayPal recently. If you would like to maybe give a one-time gift to help us out, we will make that available to you. You just message us directly. We are working on our website right now to make a support page where people can find out more information about our Patreon and other things. But go to geekdevotions.com for all that information. All right, that being said, Glix, let's restore normality from the improbability drive, and let's take this sucker home. Cody and Francisco, thank you so much for being part of our podcast today.
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate you guys. Celeste, let's close this out.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to Com Talk today. If you have loved this episode, head on over to iTunes or Apple Podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It is very much appreciated. Until next Sunday, stay devoted.
Peace and love.